Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today, this time with an article from Breitbart. This is dated August 7th, and it's on the heels of the whole Stephen Colbert getting canceled thing, and thank God for that. So this is by John Nolte, and I think I have an article that you'll hear tomorrow about from John Nolte as well. But I've already said I've liked John Nolte a lot, and this article is called Basement Rated John Oliver Rips Jay Leno's Advice to be Funny, Not Partisan. Yes, because, the guy who reigned as king of late night for like a couple decades, you might want to listen when he has advice, and John Oliver just kind of slapped him away as if he didn't know what he was talking about. And that's why John Oliver's program barely has anybody watching. Full disclosure, I actually used to watch John Oliver's program when it was on after Game of Thrones and then after the 2016 election, and I wasn't really paying attention to anything at that time politically. I remember a couple of things, like on his first show after the election was like in February of that year, of 2017. And I just remember him bringing up something that I knew was false. And I just said, if this happens one more time, I'm done with the show because I know he's lying. And then the next show, something happened again. I just went, I'm done, and I never watched it again. And it's awful to see what he's become because he's nothing but he's propaganda, and he just is too stupid to understand that. So it says, let's get into this instead of listening to me. It says, no one watches the insufferable John Oliver's Last Week Tonight. His ratings are a joke, and you never see clips from his dumb show gain any traction on social media. That's true. I never see anything from his show, ever. It says, nevertheless, Oliver is still attacking Jay Leno for daring to suggest that comedians might want to broaden their appeal beyond neurotic, dried-up, middle-aged white women who hate Trump. It says, the only thing funny about Oliver is his ratings. It says, look at this, and there's a link there. It says he makes Jon Stewart look, well, popular. And remember, John Oliver worked on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. It says, in the most recent survey, he attracted an audience of 241,000. That's not a lot. That's very little, actually. I'm sure he gains a little traction through repeats and streaming, but it's pretty obvious that, like Stephen Colbert, Oliver benefits from HBO's left-wing affirmative action. Being a toady for the state sure has its upside. You lose your soul, but you remain on the air for 12 seasons and win dozens of Emmys for saying exactly what you're expected to say. He operates exclusively inside an insular bubble. I can't remember the last time something he said went viral. Yeah, I don't remember that either. Says he's a nothing, a nobody, a butt-smooching court jester for the 1%. Here's what he said about Leno to a sycophantic left-wing Hollywood reporter. So the Hollywood reporter said, late night used to be broad, unifying entertainment. I know Jay Leno recently spoke on this topic about making a show for everyone, and then John Oliver, says the insufferable John Oliver, said, I'm going to take a hard pass on taking comedic advice from Jay Leno. Again, only the guy who led late night was the king of late night for 20 years at least. So he might be the exact guy you want to take advice from. And then the Hollywood Reporter says, fair enough, but should these shows still try to be fair for everyone, or is that as antiquated as the tanning bed? No, I think fair for everyone is fair, actually. So it says here, smug jackass, otherwise known as John Oliver. It says, who thinks that way? Executives? Comedy can't be for everyone. Why not? You're a supposed comedian. How do you not know that? It says it's inherently subjective. So yeah, when you do stand up, some people try to play to a broader audience, which is completely legitimate. Others decide not to, which is equally legitimate. And that's fair. Because I guess I don't think it's a question of what you should do, because I don't think comedy is prescriptive in that way. It's just what people want. I think our show clearly comes from a point of view, but most of those long stories we do are not party political. They're about systemic issues. No, they're extremely political, buddy. Says our last few shows were about gang databases, AI slop, juvenile justice, med spas, air traffic control. And I guarantee if I was to go watch those, you could probably find a number of things in those where facts and stats are misrepresented because his team has a habit of doing that, and just stuff that is factually incorrect. I would guarantee that. So he's trying to play it as if, no, we do all this normal stuff, but I guarantee it would be completely partisan if you were to go watch it. And I'm not going to waste my time on that because I like myself. So I'm not saying that these don't have a point of view in them. Of course they do, and at least he admits it. Doesn't say how much of a point of view, though. Says, but I hope a lot of them actually reach across people's political persuasions. You want people to at least be able to agree on the problem, even if you disagree on what the solution to it is. And it says, get a load of this guy. And says the reason no one without an NPR tote bag finds John Oliver funny is because he isn't funny. He isn't aiming for laughs. He's aiming for applause from people who already agree with him. So clapter as opposed to laughter. Because he isn't trying to make you think, which all the great comedians do. He's telling you what to think. Oliver serves the agenda of a fascist state. Jay Leno served the desire of millions of Americans looking to unwind from a hectic day. Oliver laughs at us. Jay Leno was capable of making us laugh at ourselves. Oliver hectors, lectures, demeans, and smugly preens over everyone. Yeah, that's one of his things I do, even watching his shows, that the dude is pretty smug, which he's a leftist, so most of them are like that. They're very smug in being wrong about things constantly. So it says, Jay Leno made fun of everyone, including himself. Says, I rarely agreed with some of our most topical comedians, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Dennis Miller, Bill Maher, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, but they are and were all truly funny. And they frequently surprised us with what they had to say. That's what made them so interesting. Best of all, they make us think, and sometimes they force us to think. That's what makes their work timeless. John Oliver is not timeless, he's timely. His work has about a 10-day shelf life. He's just another angry and bitter dick shaming anyone who doesn't behave, vote, think, and speak in the way he demands. When John Oliver leaves the air, no one will notice he's gone. No one will ever wonder, what would John Oliver have said about this? Because we won't have to wonder what John Oliver would say. We'll already know the answer. John Oliver would say whatever the fascist state told him to say. So yeah, I was thinking about that exact thing, reading this last thing here, is like when John Oliver's off the air, is anybody going to remember that he even had a TV program? Because I don't think they're going to, and I don't think anybody particularly cares. So that's what I have to say about that. So what do you think about that? Do you think John Oliver is right to wave away Jay Leno, or do you think his comment to the Hollywood Reporter is actually correct? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.